Okay, welcome to our Erev Shabbat Parashat class, Parashat Hukat. Do you know about the book of the wars and the song of the well? If you don't, then you skip part of our parasha. Parashat Hukat is a parasha then when bypassing or in the aftermath of the laws in the parasha, namely the Para Aduma, the red heifer presentation, there are numerous historical events and episodes in this parasha. If you want to count the parasha as components or segments or sections, I count a total of 8 sections to our parasha. And let's quickly list them, enumerate them. The parasha begins with, again, the laws of Para Aduma. The parasha follows with the tragic story of what we know and call the story of the Mei Meribah, where Aharon and Moshe Rabbeinu were punished in the incident of hitting and / talking to the stone and having the waters come out. Followed by the story of the confrontation between Am Yisrael and Edom, the subsequent refusal of Edom to allow Am Yisrael to pass through their land to take a shortcut to Eretz Yisrael, and the necessity for them to circumvent Edom. Followed by, and if you're counting, we're at episode number 4, the again very sad event of the ascent of Aharon HaKohen to Hor HaHar and his passing, Al Pi Hashem's peacefully, his passing away on that mountain, followed by what we'll call episode number or section number 5 of the parasha, the surprise attack, the ambush of the Kanaani and a Kanaani army in Am Yisrael, taking of hostages. Hashem should free all our hostages. And then Am Yisrael's subsequent prayer, vow, and freeing of the hostages and victorious battle over Kanaani. And then the dramatic story in episode 6 of the complaint of Am Yisrael, their punishment of the fiery serpents and the plague of them attacking Am Yisrael, and the methodology and approach of Moshe Rabbeinu, Al Pi Hashem, to create the Nahash and the Nechoshet, the copper snake, and have the Am Yisrael be atoned for and forgiven. I will skip number 7 for now, and the parasha ends Mashlim Maftir with, I guess, a double episode of the first defeat of Sihon Melech HaEmori, when they took the after Am Yisrael's request to pass through their nation, their land, attacked Am Yisrael, and then the subsequent defeat of Og Melech HaBashan, an unprovoked attack by Og to Am Yisrael out of pure hate, and then Am Yisrael's, of course, great victory, and those victories of Sihon and Og are repeated a number of times in our Torah, the end of Bimidbar, and then in Sefer Devarim, and of course, we'll mention a number of times in the book of Tehillim. It's Sihon Melech HaMori, Ki Olam Hasdo, Og Melech HaBashan, Ki Olam Hasdo. What did I skip? I skipped section 6 because it's hard, 7 rather, because it's difficult to call that a section or an episode. What it really is a collection of Pesukim nestled between the episode of the copper snake, we can call it, and then the final 2 battles in the parasha, Am Yisrael against Sihon and Og. There is a collection of Pesukim, we can say. These Pesukim have to do with travels of Am Yisrael, and then there are some, what I can say, nothing less than very mysterious presentations, communications, and sentiments offered to us by the Torah. Hard to capture it in a word or a sentence. But let's take a look, shall we? We'll start in Perek Kaf Aleph, chapter 21, Bimidbar, Parashat Hukat, Pasuk Yod, verse 10. Just some of the travels. Vayis'u b'nei Yisrael v'yahanu be'obot. They traveled, they settled in Obot. Vayis'u me'obot v'yahanu be'ayeha abarim b'midbar asher al pinei Moab b'mizrach ha'shamesh. They went to the next place, Ayeha abarim. V'sham nasa'u v'yahanu b'nachal zarin. Pasuk Yud Gimal. Another travel. Misham nasa'u v'yahanu me'eber Arnon asher b'midbar v'yosem gibul ha'amori. The next trip, their sojourn was to a place or the outskirts, the border of a place called Arnon, which apparently is part of Moab, which borders the Emori. Ki Arnon gibu Moab ben Ha'amori, because Arnon is the city. Some say it's independent, most say it's part of Moab. That is, and it's described by Rashi to be this protruding land jutting out from the territory of Emori into Moab. It's a city called Arnon, and that separates Moab and the Emori, and that's where Am Yisrael traveled till they got to that border. Okay, so that last travel has a little bit of description. And then in Pasuk Yud Dalet, there is some consequence or some reflection, you can say. Al ken ya'amar b'sefer milhamot Adonai. And therefore, it is said in the book of wars of God, Et vaheb besufa vet hanehalim Arnon. The words themselves are quite difficult to reconcile. Vaheb. Vaheb, what's that from? In Aramaic, and also some hintings in Hebrew, Yahib means giving, giving. Also is the shoresh, the root ahava, love. Besufa, what is sufa? It means, sounds like soft. The end of sounds like suf, which is the shores of a body of water. What is it talking about? It's recording something that was written in the book of wars. What's the book of wars? And then also Hanehalim Arnon, the rivers, streams of Arnon, which is the place that they are currently encamped at. There's no explanation here. Apparently, some events took place that had to be recorded in some book that we're not familiar with. We don't know what those events are. Next pasuk continues. Ve'eshed hanehalim asher natal l'shebet Ad v'nish'an l'chvu Moab. Eshed, they say, is the streaming, the pouring, the flowing of the rivers, which are aiming towards the encampment of Ad and leaning or by the border of Moab. Next pasuk, Tezayin, umisham be'era, and there they went to the be'er, the well. Is that a place? Doesn't seem so, because it says Hi be'er asher amar Adonai Moshe sof ta'am ve'tana lehem mayim. Sounds like an actual well. They went to the well, and this is the well that Moshe said, gather the people and I'll give them water. Is that the rock that we were just at that they gave them water? The debacle of the Mei Meribah? What well is this? And then, all of a sudden, Pasuk Yud Zayin, as if this is not enigmatic enough, Az yashir Yisrael tashira hazot ali be'er enula. Then Am Yisrael sings a song. And the song, as they sing, is rise, O well, and call out, or communicate and speak. And here is what the content of the song is. Be'er hafaru hasarim karuha nidibeh ha'am, the well which was dug by the officers, by the leaders. It was dug up by those that are the righteous and prestigious of the nation. Bimchokek b'mish'anotam, carved with their walking sticks, with their staffs. Umimidbar matana, and then from the desert, so to speak, to matana. We're perplexed. In this group of Pesukim, the mysteries just pile up. So what we're going to do is try to walk slowly through them, offering the basic, the pshat of what some of the Mefarshim offer us, filling in blanks that are obviously open, voids that need to be filled. And then afterwards, perhaps we'll take it to a next level. So it says, it is said in the book of the wars of God. So most commentators, led by the Ramban, say that there was a book. It was an international recorded book of history shared by the nations that recorded great wars. And in there was recorded some of the Jewish wars, including, and many explain, Et Vahev Besufa, either what we were given to us by Yam Suf, or the love demonstrated on Yam Suf, which is of course, Kriyat Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea episode. It was in that book. all the way to Vet HaNehalim Arnon. Whatever occurred here by the rivers, the streams of Arnon. What occurred here? We're not certain. The Rashbam points out, don't forget, they had to circumvent the entire country of Edom, and a lot of action took place that we're not told of those details. Rashi, based on Hazal, tells us about a miracle where they went past in a valley between two mountains, Amori and Moab, and there was an impending ambush, and the mountains miraculously converged where the protrusions in one mountain sort of fit into the caves of the other, where the Amoraim were waiting in ambush and crushed them and killed them. And Ami still was not aware of that miracle. They were just innocently walking down in the valley, and they were spared and saved. And then afterwards, in the next pasuk, Eshed HaNehalim, the flow of the river, they saw the blood, the body parts of the enemy, and they realized, what a miracle God made for us, and they sang a song. Well, that among possibly many other events where the Nehalim Arnon represented phrase of the various miracles and battles perhaps that occurred there. These all recorded in the book of Milhamot Hashem. And then the pasuk tells us about Be'era. Apparently, again, maybe this is a place named after the Be'er well, but it's the well that Moshe Rabbeinu said, gather the people and give them water. There are many who say, traditionally speaking, based on the information of Hachamim, this is referring to what's called the Be'er of Miriam. Miriam, who passed away as well, by the way, in our Parashat, that was sort of tucked away in one pasuk. And there was a episode earlier in the Chumash where Am Yisrael, right when in this Parashat, when Miriam passed away, and the next word after Miriam passed away was V'lo haya mayim la'ada, there was no water for the nation. That revealed to us that all this time, the 40 years, almost 40 years throughout the course of the desert, that water was supplied in the Mered, the Zafut of Miriam. What's known, famously became known traditionally as the Be'er, the well of Miriam. That's the Be'er that's mentioning here, according to many. It wasn't now discovered. It was always there. But some say, Mefarshim, I'm really bringing you a number of commentaries together, that it was miraculously traveling with them. And here it situated itself and found a permanent location. And that's the Be'era, that's the place that we're calling Be'era. And based on that, Am Yisrael sang a song. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the song. And then as Hazal in the Midrash, Mechilta, lists for us 10 official songs in Tanakh, in the Chumash, in the books of Nevi'im. Some of you know, Kriyat Shamsuv, Shirat Devorah, Shirat David, etc. And there is a few different versions and discussion about what are really the top 10, the 10, so to speak, songs. But on all lists, this one makes it. It's essentially a one pasuk song, introductory, and then a pasuk of content. But this is considered to be one of the great songs of our history, recorded right here in the Chumash. And Am Yisrael sang it, looks like spontaneously, praising Hashem and praising the well, but by extension, praising Hashem, the well that was dug by the great, prestigious, holy, righteous people of our past. Some say that the Sarim were referring to Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov. We know Yaakov was successful at a well. It's where he found his wife. And we can trace back the roots of this well, perhaps to the forefathers. Some say dug by the Sarim or Moshe and Aharon. Different opinions as to what they were praising and referring to with the staff, carving of their staffs, their leadership, so to speak. Okay, so that doesn't unravel all the mysteries of these Pesukim. It gives us tidbits of insight. But I really want to close out by explaining the following and then offering a little more depth. The more enigmatic, the more vague and ambiguous the Torah is about in Pesukim, with episodes, with mitzvot, with anything, it is an intentional attempt, so to speak, by Kadosh Baruch Hu, to motivate us, to prompt us to dig deeper, no pun intended, digging at the well over here. When things are pretty much on the surface, of course, there's always incredible depth to every word, every letter in the Torah. But there are some episodes like this group of enigmatic, mysterious Pesukim, where Kadosh Baruch Hu leaves it that way, because there are layers underneath layers of understanding that if it was just given to us at face value, we wouldn't bother digging. Second to last, Mishnah Pirkei Avot, Ben Bagbag Omer, Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba dechol ba. Turn the Torah over, turn it over again, dig further, everything's in it. And sometimes it's demonstrated by these presentations of the Torah. So this is certainly one of those. And just to give you an example of how you can dig when the Torah prompts us to, there are different layers of understanding here. I'll give you two examples. One is the Or HaChaim that speaks about this phrase recorded in the books of the book of the wars of Hashem, Et Vaheb Besufah. Et Vaheb Besufah. Says the Or HaChaim that the Milhamot LaHashem, the previous pasuk was referring to the bordering Moab, that we weren't allowed by dictate of the Torah to invade and to attack and to take the land of Moab. The descendant of Lot, they're protected, protection, right, of Moab. But it happens to be that Moab is one of the original 10 nations promised to Abraham, the Kenizi. It ended up just being just 7. Hachamim tell us traditionally the other 3 will be granted to us in our conquerings of the future messianic times. Am Yisrael will expound its boundaries. That includes Moab is one of those 3, that territory. And therefore it says in the book of the wars of God, which includes the future wars, says Or HaChaim, Et Vaheb, this will be awarded to us. What's this? The aforementioned territory of Moab, but not soon, not yet, Besufah, at the end of times, at the times of Mashiach Tzidkenu. And that also is recorded in the books of Milhamot Hashem in the future wars of God, so to speak. Wouldn't have thought of that, right? But the phrase remains ambiguous and vague and open to allow for that information as well. And here's one last. It's a famous, can say famous, well-known Gemara, Masechet Kiddushin, on this phrase as well. Having nothing to do with anything, any historical events or wars, or actually the context of this pasuk, but b'derech remez, in a layer of understanding called hinting in the Torah. And the Gemara there addresses the character, the nature of people who learn Torah and what their intent, their proper motivation should be. And it frames it as when people are speaking about Sefer, when people are discussing Torah, when people are studying Torah together, well, milhamot, if you ever walk into a Beit Midrash, if a person never walked into a Beit Midrash before, they're not experienced at seeing Hebrew taught, learned together, right? And they walked in and they saw 2 people screaming at each other. They would say that this is a hotbed of animosity. These are people that dislike each other. There's vengeance over here. What is he screaming at him for? He's going to rip his head off. Hey, get a restraining order, the police, right? They don't understand. It's Milhamot LaHashem, that the fighting, so to speak, that the squabbling between them are because they're trying to get to the truth, the emet of Hashem and His Torah. And indeed, in the Sefer and Torah, if the Milhamot are for Hashem, then it will subsequently be Vaheb Besufah. It'll be Ahava in the end. And that's the way it is when people study Torah, and you can see them going at each other almost, at each other's throats, but afterwards, as if nothing happened, because it was all L'Shem Shamayim, L'Shem Amitut HaTorah, Limud Torah. At the end, they shake our hands and have a coffee together. That is Am Yisrael's true loving approach of each other and of the Torah. And yet, another very hidden layer of this pasuk and this very phrase that we discovered and revealed 2 different layers. The unraveling may continue of this episode, but as we said, the Torah Kedusha sometimes in here has presented to us something that's obscure and mysterious to prompt us, to motivate us, to dig deep and to find all the great messages that the Torah has hidden for us in this episode and really the entire Torah Kula. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen. Shabbat shalom.
Quick question.